Hi everyone, I'm Tracy Ryder, co-founder of Edible Communities. And for more than 20 years now, we have had the privilege of being champions for and telling the stories of the heroes from our food system. And today is really special for me because I get to talk to you live with one of those heroes who's here with us today. His name is Mel Coleman Jr. from Coleman Natural. And Coleman Natural is celebrating their 150th anniversary. I will add that when I first met Mel, which was about 15 or 16 years ago, one of the first things he ever said to me was, Tracy, let's change agriculture. So today, coming forward all these years later, I'm gonna be turning the tables on Mel a little bit and asking him questions and talking with him about his family legacy from the last 150 years and how Coleman has done just that, changed agriculture. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce Mel Coleman Jr. to the kitchen today. Hello, sir.
How are you doing?
Doing well, Mel.
Great.
So excited to be with you.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a lot of catching up to do.
We do.
Yeah.
So
hopefully we're going to have a lot of fun today. We're going to be talking about your family's history. We're going to be talking about the beautiful products that are available from Coleman today. Get into a little trouble in the kitchen cooking, maybe eating.
Thanks a lot.
And then we're going to talk about what is happening today with Coleman and perhaps a little bit about what you envision for the future.
Super. That sounds great.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
So Mel, we're gonna start cooking today. Some beautiful Coleman pork chops that you have here. And why don't you tell us, your family has been in the all natural meat business for generations now. And tell us why the quality of Coleman pork is so special and why people should really care about this.
Well, it's interesting, years ago what they did is that they talked about the other white meat.
Yeah.
And they took the marbling where the flavor is, really took it out. So what we've done is that we're labeling with a Duroc label. Duroc is a breed of pork. A lot of Duroc is used, but we're using a Duroc breed so that we can get the marbling back into the pork chop. And you see how all this marbling runs through here? That's where the taste is. So in order to draw some of that taste out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to prep the pork with a little bit of salt. And
just a little bit of salt.
Just a little bit of salt.
Great.
And you can use kosher salt or any kind of salt that you want to use. And what we'll do is that we'll use it on both sides.
Okay.
And we'll let it sit for a little while. And what that does is that salt draws out the flavor.
Wonderful.
And so as the flavor's being drawn out, what'll happen is that you'll get the true taste of pork.
Great.
You don't need to doctor this kind of pork up.
Right.
Okay.
So nothing more than salt and maybe a little pepper later on.
So after we've salted it, we'll let it rest a little while. That'll draw the flavor out. Then after we're done cooking, I like a little bit of pepper. So what we'll do is we'll add a little bit of flavor with the pepper after it's cooked before we eat it. But this is a simple way of doing it. And there's all kinds of recipes that you can add to pork that makes it taste great as well.
Right, because some people think they have to brine all their pork chops before they cook them. And these are just no fuss, no muss.
No fuss,
pure
no muss.
Pure pork flavor. Beautiful. Okay.
And what I like to do is that you always want to take the internal temperature, okay? And it says it needs to be around 145 degrees.
Right.
But what I like to do is I like to just time it. It looks like about the thickness of these.
Which is what, about an inch and a half?
About an inch, yeah.
Okay.
And what I'll do is I usually go about 3 minutes on each side.
Okay, perfect.
Okay?
And then we'll let them rest a little bit. And it's okay because it's not the other white meat to have it be a little pink inside. When you have quality pork, you want that to keep moisture.
Most people overcook pork.
Okay.
Just don't overcook it.
Okay, great.
So let's try this. And then you said we have to let it rest a little while. I always have a difficult time of letting it rest.
Yeah, bad. Yeah. I'm going to have a difficult time letting it rest too. All right. That's beautiful.
So if you get your pan nice and hot, then you can get a little bit of that crust on the outside.
And I think a good heavy bottom cast iron skillet is perfect for cooking pork chops. Right?
It is.
Great.
Okay. So now that the time's up, and actually, depending on the heat of the pan, how long you want to cook them, okay?
Yep.
But here's where we are. And I'm going to let these rest for probably 10 or 15 minutes, all right?
Great.
But you can see how the juices come out of this and how, well,
They're
I just can't
really
wait to eat these.
beautiful. Yeah,
Really beautiful,
really beautiful.
okay?
So they have this beautiful caramelized color. Would you put foil over these if you're letting them rest to keep them warm?
You can. But the other thing that, remember I talked earlier about the salt to bring the flavor out?
Yes.
Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of pepper on as a flavor, all right? And I'm going to do each side like that, just with a small bit of pepper. If you like a lot of pepper, use a lot of pepper.
To taste.
To taste.
Okay,
correct.
I like it.
Oh, man, look at that.
That is really a gorgeous pork chop.
All right, I happen to like a lot of pepper, so.
Me too.
Okay, there we go. So now we'll let them rest.
Okay.
Now that they've rested, let's take one of these and cut into it and see where we are, okay?
Oh, I can't.
And I'm just going to cut a piece right out of the middle just so we can take a look at it.
Oh, it's perfect.
And taste-wise, or cooking-wise. And
look at that.
What I want you to see is that, see how nice and tender and juicy it is?
It's gorgeous.
And even, okay.
And it's still
it's
pink.
just not overcooked, okay?
It's not overcooked. It's not dry. So it's still slightly pink and it's juicy. That's key.
And it's juicy, all right?
Great.
And if this is too pink for you, you can always cook it more. But I think
I actually think when you have really quality pork like Coleman,
you don't need to do it.
You can have rare pork chop and keep all that flavor and juice, and it's perfect.
Did you know that most of the really high-end pork that's in the commodity business all goes to export?
Oh, I did.
And so part of the other white meat, okay, that doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't have much flavor at all. This has got a lot of flavor. It brings back what the real flavor of pork's supposed to be.
Yes, okay? Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'm going to cut myself a bite. And then what we'll do is that you can have this one.
Okay.
It's a big bite, but there's yours.
That's a pretty big bite, Mel.
It is.
How big of a bite do you think I can really?
And I'm just
I have no problem with it, really.
I'm just going to do it like we used to do it on the ranch, and I'll just eat it right
off the tip of your knife.
Off the tip of your knife. And then I'll say, remember how great pork used to taste? No, you don't. Really juicy. Mm-hmm. And I see...
That is truly delicious pork.
On TV, all the cooking shows, you see everybody go, This is serious.
What strikes me, though, not only how juicy and flavorful it is, but it's so tender. I mean, there's just no toughness. Everybody's going to want to eat this. It's fabulous. Thank you.
You're welcome. This is great.
Mel, that was really maybe the most delicious pork chop I've ever eaten.
You know, thank you. But part of the reason that it tastes as good as it tastes is that antibiotics are to treat disease.
Right.
But the other thing is a lot of antibiotics are mixed into livestock feeds to make the animal grow faster.
Right.
And even though growth hormones are not allowed in pork, growth promotants are. And what it does, it promotes growth, just like steroids in an athlete. All right. And to me,
that's going to change the taste.
That's what changes the taste.
And Coleman uses none of that.
Right. And that's why we call it natural.
That's great. That's great.
Natural for Coleman has to do with the way the animal's raised. Okay? The way that the USDA definition is, it's how it's processed. But originally, the definition is how it's raised. So if you raise it right, it eats right.
Yes.
Okay?
And if it eats right, it's healthy, and then it doesn't need any of those things
and
added.
The other thing is, we found out that a lot of the things that my grandfather taught me about the way that you take care and treat animals, treat the animal right, feed it right, raise it right. It's going to taste great.
Yeah.
And it's going to be something you can feel good about feeding your family.
Yeah, absolutely. I would feel good about feeding that to my family for sure.
Great.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So Tracy, when I was talking to you about the pork chops, and we just put the salt on it, let it set for a while, then we cooked them, and then we put the pepper on later.
Fabulous.
So a simple way to barbecue is do exactly the same thing with a rib.
Great.
Just put some salt and pepper on it and barbecue it, and it's just ready to go.
So you'd get a really, really hot grill going?
Get a really hot grill going. You can tell when it's done kind of by looks as much as anything. Okay? And by touch.
Great.
But be sure and flip it over.
Okay.
And sometimes what I'll do is that I'll flip it over a couple of times.
Nice,
right?
nice.
But it's just simple. It's just a kind of a simple cowboy way of doing it.
What I really love about this is, again, it's the quality of this pork that needs nothing to be delicious. And how long would this take on a grill, Mel? Like if you did each side, is it 4 or 5 minutes a side?
4 or 5 minutes a side, but a lot of times I live up in the mountains, so sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's really cold.
Yeah.
So a lot of it depends on the temperature, but yeah, about 4 or 5 minutes on each side.
Great. I love it.
Now, that's for barbecuing. If you want to bake it, you can bake it and do the same way. It'll come out just as good. Bake it just like this. And then if you want to have a little bit of barbecue sauce or whatever after it's done, you can either put it on or put it on the side. Personally, I just like them like that.
Salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper.
I like it. Keep it simple. Okay.
Yeah.
Terrific. Well, Mel, we've seen just how simple ribs can be by salting and peppering them and just putting them on a grill. And this, I really also like to keep things, if you're going to use a recipe, to keep it as simple as possible.
Right.
So that every home cook feels like they're empowered in the kitchen. They can make anything they want. So this dry rub recipe is actually a favorite around here. Our family loves it, and it's as simple as it could be. So we call it the 333-222-111, okay? And you can alter this and make it any way you like, depending on what flavors your family prefers. So basically, the 3 are the anchor ingredients to this. So you have brown sugar, salt, and pepper. And those you put the most of. So proportionately, you're going to put a little less of the next ones, right? So we have New Mexico red chili. We're in New Mexico right now. We love to use our local chili. We have a smoky paprika, and we have some thyme. And then in the 111s, which is the least ingredient, you want to have a little bit of cayenne if you want a little heat. I use a little bit of fennel pollen, which is a really nice flavor that complements pork, and then a little bit of cumin. So these all get mixed together in a bowl in these proportions. So 3, 2, 1. You pick any ingredients you want. Some people like to add a lot of garlic or onion salt to add those flavors, which is wonderful. And then you literally just rub the ribs with them. So
is this in terms of volume, teaspoons? 3, 2, or tablespoons?
It can be, but if you're making a double batch, you could do 6, 3,
I got it.
1. So proportionately, it's just the 3, the 2, and the 1.
Got it.
And again, you can change these to fit the flavors you prefer.
Sure.
So we don't eat tons of garlic. We have a garlic allergy in our family, actually. So we use cumin, fennel pollen, and cayenne for the spices. Rub these. You let them sit a little bit. We cover these with foil and put them in the oven at 350 degrees for about an hour, hour and a half. They get really tender. You take the foil off, give them another 15 or 20 minutes until you get some nice bark on these, a little bit of crust. And then they should be super tender and really delicious. The other reason I prefer dry rub to a barbecue sauce is that it doesn't dominate, right? It flavors and it creates a crust with a flavor, but it doesn't really affect the quality of the pork or the flavor of the pork. You still get that flavor, which for your product, which again, we've talked about how beautiful the quality is, you don't want to overdo it. So I think this will give us a really beautiful balance between the taste of the pork and the flavor of the rub.
So if you like barbecue sauce, just put it on the side.
Put it on the side. Yeah. Let everybody serve themselves that way. Yeah. I agree.
So these have been sitting here for a while.
Yep, we've let them rest for 5 or 10 minutes.
It's been 10 minutes.
Yeah, you want to try to dig in?
That's what I like. Okay. So there's a lot of ways to do it, and you were talking about that. What you'll do is that you set it up like this and then cut down between the bone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What I usually like to do is I'll just go ahead and flip it over.
Oh, I love that.
All right, and then what I'll do is find where the bone is.
Oh my gosh.
Cut down right in between.
Yeah.
All right. Then we'll cut a couple of these.
Nice. I love those end pieces myself.
Yeah, so do I. Cut the ends off first, okay? But anyway, so what you'll find is that you'll see that nice and beautiful. This side actually looks better, all right? But look at that. So what we'll do is we'll plate this up.
It looks like it's falling off the bone, actually.
Yeah. It is. And so I'm going to cut one more.
Nice.
And what I'll do is I'll leave the end piece. You can have it later for dessert, okay?
Thank you.
But
wow, look at
so anyway, what we'll do is we'll cut these. When you plate these up, a lot of times what I like to do is plate up a couple, and then I'll put one laying across it.
Nice.
Make it look nice and
nice
pretty.
Portion.
Yeah,
okay.
for 3 minutes, and then I devour it. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So, would you like to try one of these?
Absolutely.
All right. Well.
Okay. Let's go all in. I'll go all in.
All in, hands, and now you're going to tell me. You know what? I can tell right now.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
All right. So this is a lot moister than I thought it was going to be.
Really moist. Lots of juice still. And you get the spicy flavor on the outside. And then it's really tender and juicy on the inside.
Yeah, and I like what you said, that you maintain the pork flavor by doing a dry rub.
Yeah.
I can tell the difference.
Yeah, I love that.
This is good. I might have to just switch from my simple salt and pepper to something like this.
Well, every now and then you got to mix it up, right?
Yeah.
So Mel, now that we've cooked all this fabulous food together and gotten to taste this remarkably good pork, I really want to know more about everything to do with Coleman, about the history, about your ranching legacy, your family, what else is happening now, and what you see the future to be.
Well, it is a long history, okay? I'm the 5th generation.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something we ought to sit down someplace and do that.